Hello and good evening to everyone. My name is Kenneth Punzalan, and I am a medical technologist from the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, and I will be your moderator for today's session. Our first keynote speaker is a seasoned veteran at the business development, startup operations, quality improvement, and leadership with a track record of success in leading strategically focused patient care services and clinical laboratories in the United Arab Emirates and India. His qualifications include MBBS, MD, MBA, PhD, and an International Fogarty Fellow. He is also a certified professional in health quality, an award winning researcher, lecturer, and writer who imparts a passion for medical and laboratory excellence. He has over 55 publications, won over 12 research awards, and he is an auditor for the College of American Pathologists and ISO 15189 accreditation, and an expert in implementing quality management systems. With over 40 years of commercial and scientific success, he has a strong background in executing new research projects while setting up new facilities and keeping abreast of the latest technologies. Working closely with management teams, he provides a positive approach to enhance operational effectiveness and improvement processes. He applies exceptional entrepreneurial spirit to new international ventures and identifying growth segments through opening up the market, foreseeing the potential to increase a company's revenue and performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the head of clinical department, the clinical laboratory of the Faqih University Hospital in Dubai, Dr. Palat K. Menon.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you for the kind words. I am really thankful to the organizers and especially InterLeukin to invite me to give this presentation. The past, present, and future of healthcare procurement is an ongoing saga where the, f- I will be talking about the future of procurement in the light of what happened previously. So it is important to know that CEOs are looking for the procurement function to take on a broader and deeper set of strategic responsibilities than ever before. Organizations are facing unprecedented change and disruptions that threaten their future viability. Consumerization, expanding regulatory requirements, pricing pressures, and ever evolving industry landscape due to merger and acquisition activity and shifts to outcome based pricing are all key forces compelling procurement leaders to reevaluate strategies. In midst of continuous disruption, one thing can be certain: procurement should disrupt itself to grow and stay in the front of change. So, this is a very, very important change which is coming over this industry. An agenda to deal with this disruption involves moving into the future with a focus on innovation, supplier and customer relationships, and a decentralized operating model to support the business. For example, SCM and procurement have to move from disconnected and adversarial to innovative with value add and partners as peers. From being tactical and short sighted to forward thinking and transformative, from being a gatekeeper and cumbersome to being a self service which is seamless and customer centric, from having from being not being transparent and one-off relationships to ethical procurement, which is innovative and a part of an ecosystem, a fragmented white space to integrated cloud-based technologies, from spend-focused and manual processes to insightful and AI-driven processes, from being bloated and unsustainable to be the workplace of the future where people come in and do a dream job, from being antiquated and unresponsive to an agile operating model which is adaptive and value driven. Another transformation which is happening is called sustainable procurement. Sustainable procurement has been defined as a process whereby organizations meet their needs for goods, services, works, and utilities in a way that achieves value for money on a whole life basis in terms of generating benefits not only to the organization but also to the society and the economy as a whole while minimizing damage to the environment. So, this is a much bigger picture. Sustainable procurement can also be defined as the effort of an organization to achieve or simply improve performance of buying activities in three ways: environmentally, socially, and economically. The digital supply chain can be defined as a set of three or more entities, individuals or organizations, directly involved in the upstream and downstream flows of products, services, finance, and information from a source to a customer. This overlying definition includes cost effectiveness of services and value creating activities that are advantageous to firms and their suppliers, employees, and customers. This requires integration of processes and information in the supply chain. The digital supply chain is characterized by a strategic and operative exchange of information between suppliers to enhance communication between various actors in the chain, that is, finance, production, design, research, and other competitors. In general, interorganizational coordination is achieved by means of electronic links between information systems and enabling automated and digitized processes of source to pay processes involving suppliers, customers in the supply chain. Later on, we will look at P2P and S2P processes. The, in the present, the digital supply chain involves a vast amount of data from devices and sensors and from social media applications. This information sharing and process is not confined to business process level, but also includes a vast amount of data from services and sensors and from social media applications. The integrated supply chain information models are essential in modern digital supply chains, and the role of information integration and service automation has been identified as an important business driver. The key motivation for supply chain integration is the efficiency associated with minimizing governance costs, including the cost of exchange with other ecosystem participants and with those in the individual organization. The information technology based cost savings enable more information to be processed more accurately, more frequently, from more sources around the world. When properly automated, these information flows eliminate the need for manual data entry and so reduce human error. B2B integration builds supply chain efficiency. Current low levels of system interoperability continue to cause high investment costs, and potential benefits have not yet been realized. So, what is the future? Couple of predictions have been uh, uh, given in a very interesting article from Digital Supply Chain Transformation. Uh, so, the the future supply chain will be a gold mine of data. Thus, this clean, accurate data will not only help the supply chain but also give information and be a part of C-suite decision making process. This causes value to be realized across the organization, and the future supply chain will be an important partner in the C-suite. It will lead to standardization of care with most significant in most one of the most significant ways healthcare will become sustainable is by focusing on standardization of care, particularly consistency from a patient perspective. It will be in lockstep with clinicians. Customers and consumers predict a clinically integrated supply chain where supply chain professionals and clinicians work closely side by side. It'll be predictive and rarely, if ever, falter. The healthcare supply chain data will be leveraged for predictive analytics. It will be based on long term, mutually beneficial relationships between trading partners, creating better, more transparent, and communicative relationships with each other, which is essential to be a success in the future supply chain. It will expand to wherever the patient goes. So it is not only for the hospital, but will follow the patient to wherever the patient is physically located. And this can lead to greater consolidation and collaboration among health systems, telemedicine networks, home care, nursing home partnerships, etc. It will adapt to personalized medicine and more informed customer with the disruptive technologies on the horizon like 3D printers, improving imaging, diagnostics. The future of supply chain will adapt with new manufacturing and buying processes around personalized medicine. So let us look at two interesting processes. Currently, what we follow is a procure to pay process. What is procure to pay? The procure to pay process combines a company's procurement and accounts payable functions. The process starts when the need arises for goods or services and ends with the payment for those goods and services. The P2P process covers requisitioning, purchasing, receiving, paying for, and accounting of goods and services. Throughout the process, cost savings and value creation are prioritized. This is same as purchase to pay. On the other hand, source to pay is a wider process. The In this process, organizations go through in order to source, order, and pay for goods and services. The source to pay process includes all stages from strategic sourcing, contract lifecycle, to procurement, invoice management, payment processing, and more. This model is designed for organizations with complex procurement needs who require a dedicated sourcing function. Automating the source to pay processes offers several benefits, including spend visibility and mitigating the supply chain risk and improving productivity levels. If you look at the graph, you will realize that there are various types of technologies which are successful in all these steps of the S2P process. So you have robotic process automation, you have machine learning, you have smart workflows, natural language processing, and cognitive agents. The P2P and S2P processes are fairly similar in many ways. They also have several differences. The main one is that S2P starts at one step earlier than P2P with sourcing of goods. The procure to pay process usually begins with requisitioning of goods and services and ends when accounts payable team pays the vendor. Source to pay goes one step further. With S2P, the strategic sourcing becomes a part of the process, ensuring that the best vendors are selected, negotiating deals with them, and this helps to optimize internal controls, enhance supply chain efficiency, and simplify the vendor relationship management. An open S2P ecosystem philosophy, enabling coexistence and connection among the best of breed solutions and multiple vendors, all backed by a robust integration capability, will ensure strong and viable S2P processes. So, what are the upcoming top 10 technology trends in procurement? Cloud based procurement software. Today, everything is in the cloud. Microservices and low code platforms, process automation, data analytics, AI driven technologies, collaboration and communication tools, mobile services, and self service portals. If one looks at all the prominent uh, e-commerce uh, environments like Amazon or Alibaba, you can see that one is procuring everything by oneself, and self-service is the game changer. So how would you like to optimize your supply chain? Some strategies include integration. The people who supply you have to have people who supply them, and those people who have people to supply them have other set of people to supply them. So this happens in multiple steps. Eventually, all chains run back to a raw material, but in between, all the links in the chain could benefit from supply chain optimization. To be efficient as possible, you have to be in constant communication with each part of the chain. So not only do you have to look at manufacturing, but you also have to look at logistics and transportation. You have to look at financing. You have to look at customers. You've got to look at availability. So it is a very fairly integrated, complex process which one has to be aware of to be successful in integrating all the components of this chain. The second step is, of course, inventory management. A supply chain optimization demands that businesses know what is where and when it is there. Once you know, you can manage each item or groups of items to ensure it is used the way it is supposed to be used. One of the biggest advantages of managing your inventory effectively is that you can avoid product expiry. Logistics is the another way to optimize your supply chain. Logistics is basically the art of hauling goods from one location to another. It is more than that, obviously, but that is the main activity at its core. Your stuff has to get from where it is quickly so that you can meet customer demand, especially with perishable items like organic produce or diagnostic kits. It is crucial that nothing interrupts your produce as it makes its way along your logistical trail. Another item to look at is technology. How you can stay in touch with each step of your chain so as to be able to manage your customers, your suppliers up and down the logistics chain. So, as you all know, today phone calls are great, but in a business arena where minutes sometimes matter, quicker communication is necessary. Depending on the size of the business, you may require a solution powered by artificial intelligence technology to keep track of your inventory and automate orders. Companies the size of Amazon need entire divisions that are supported by the most powerful technology and secure cloud based management protocols and software, along with the thousands of people who maintain some resemblance of control over the unimaginably colossal enterprise that is their supply chain. Fleet management software, tamper proof type card systems, energy efficient process flows, and communication tools are necessary to be successful at supply chain optimization. So, what are the ways to optimize your supply chain is speaking and communication. This is probably the easiest to implement. You, your employees, your suppliers, and everybody up and down this chain have to talk to each other. Whether that's on the phone, in text, by email, or even video, it is most important factor when it comes to supply chain optimization. So, what is the way forward? In the 1980s, strategic procurement was the key. Globalization called for a more sophisticated approach to manage third party relationships and risks. Frameworks emerged to make procurement more effective. The rise of enterprise resource planning systems allowed for more automated planning, ordering, receiving, invoicing, and payment processes. Towards the end of 1990s and 2000s, we started e-procurement. Now, software tools to computerize procurement started emerging. These tools were used to create, process, and store procurement data. The establishment of category management and supplier relationship management frameworks created a means for comprehensive supply management. Procurement role was elevated from transactional management to strategic sourcing, but the focus still remained on cost management. After the 2010s, digital procurement has now come to play. We have advanced analytics and data driven optimization, leading to better insights, allowing for greater increased cross-domain value chain interactions. AI, along with relevant insights from other value chain stakeholders, are transforming procurement. Downstream procurement activities are being transformed by automation tools. Procurement moves to the center of value creation by connecting the businesses with a network of external partners and to create new business models. So, the way forward is digital procurement will help enable modernization through extreme automation, extreme integration, value added services, with a generous dose of artificial intelligence almost everywhere. So, this is my last slide, which tells you the complexes and the complex scenarios which involves successful supply chain management, starting from budgets, inventory, balancing both on either side, to assets, strategy, savings, project, market data, supplier performance, contracts, supplier data, resources, purchase orders, suppliers, invoices, and business demand. So um, it is only companies who can balance all these items out very successfully will be able to go forward in the future. I would like to thank all of you for a patient listening, and I would like to thank InterLeukin and the organizers to give me this opportunity to voice some of my thoughts. Thank you.
The COVID-19 pandemic has definitely shaped or affected supply chain management. And a key takeaway message from this presentation is that supply chain management would ensure you the uninterrupted supply of quality and safe goods to the end users. And with the digitalization of these processes, we are definitely ensured of process efficiency in managing the supplies from the end to end process of the supply chain management from procurement to distribution. Thank you so much, Dr. Menon, for that wonderful message. Moving forward to our next keynote speaker, he is an accomplished medical sales director and an enthusiast of healthcare entrepreneurship. He is a performing international sales director in a company based in South Korea and the Chief Business Development Officer of InterLeukin Innovations Incorporated. This is a Philippine-based tech company specializing on medical e-commerce and B2B online procurement. His extensive experience in strategic business planning and product development, including multifaceted global distribution network establishment, pre-analytical medical market development, and product manufacturing, and after-sales service program integration, brought him to introduce an innovative and unconventional products through different types of business model using digital platforms such as e-commerce and online procurement systems. And at InterLeukin, he helps medical technology companies and healthcare institutions recover, manage operational costs, and address the supply chain gap through digital procurement transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Business Development Officer of InterLeukin Innovations Incorporated, please welcome Mr. Ki-Yong Lee.
Thank you, Kenneth. Good afternoon. My name is Ki-Young Lee, and I'm Chief Business Development Officer at InterLeukin. Now, I will take today's opportunity to share past, present, and future of Philippines' healthcare procurement ecosystem. Now, according to the latest figures, the global healthcare e-commerce market is to reach about $347 billion by end of this year, and will reach approximately as high as $643 billion by year 2025. Now, today's healthcare industry is composed of three main competing factors. Now, access, quality, and cost containment that requires intricate balance among three of these factors. Now, the core challenge of maintaining this balance is to determine how we can make improvements to one of these factors without compromising the other two. Much of the focus has been on rising costs, which the traditional model tried to address with improvements in operational efficiency, However, this chase for efficiency has reached its limits. Now, in recent decade, productivity improvement rates in healthcare in Europe and North America have lagged behind those that of other industries that we see. Now, therefore, it is time to shift our attention to e-commerce innovation and business ecosystems in healthcare that can play a major role in coming paradigm shift. Now, several trends are paving the way for a broader application of ecosystem models in healthcare today. First, new competitors, many equipped with successful platforms and irrelevant experience in creating business ecosystems, are entering the market. Second, patients are increasingly demanding higher levels of service and choices in healthcare that they are used to seeing or receiving in other industries. Third, technology implementation has created new forms of access and interaction. Secure and cost-effective data sharing solutions are increasingly available, and it is enabling new ecosystem applications. Fourth, we are starting to see some momentum in regulatory changes. Now, in the developed countries, we are seeing more and more aggressive policies on environmental protection laws that is ultimately affecting broad industries, and it's causing rising costs. Now, finally, while the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed many structural weaknesses of existing healthcare system, it has also demonstrated the potential of digital ecosystem. Now, companies responding to the COVID-19 crisis were required to rethink many existing rules, regulations, and routines. Now, virtually overnight, as we all know, a contactless healthcare system became a necessity and a requirement. Now, this fostered new digital applications, including advancements in telehealth and innovative distribution of medical supplies, such as drone uses and e-commerce procurement platform adaptation. Now, all these trends are to reshape the foundation of healthcare procurement process and overall healthcare experience by shifting away from yesterday's healthcare ecosystem, best represented by being reactive, paper-based, highly fragmented, in the hands of a very, very few predictable parties that we are used to seeing for decades. Now, the next step many developed countries are quick to adapt is data-driven procurement management and value chain integration by creating online hub of product and service marketing. Now, ultimately, this will lead to the way to creation of e-commerce ecosystems that focuses on offering comprehensive solutions that deliver easy access and improved values to customers. Now, in yesterday's or even perhaps even today's procurement process, widely used in the Philippines, consists of standard 6 process that we're all familiar with. Now, product introduction, product sampling and evaluations, purchase request, quotation, delivery, and payment. Now, this rather common 6 steps takes over 6 months per product, which ultimately leads to increased resources needed and required. This in turn will increase the price buyers needs to pay and will then be levied onto patients and customers. Now, there are many aspects of today's healthcare system that are primary causes of inefficiencies. Now, 4 out of 10 such inefficiencies are procurement-related issues that could have been avoided or lessened by utilizing more innovative ways of the e-commerce ecosystem. Now, 4 of such procurement-related inefficiencies are underuse of healthcare products due to higher pricing, use of substandard products due to higher pricing as well, and inappropriate and inefficient use due to unethical promotion practices and overuse of equipment. Now, in order to conform to this global movement of transitioning towards e-commerce ecosystem, I would like to formally introduce Philippines' homegrown B2B healthcare e-commerce platform, InterLeukin. Now, interleukin have been formulated in year 2020 in the midst of a pandemic with a determination to bring fast, simple, and affordable products and solutions to alleviate rising healthcare costs. Now, interleukin platform aims to help both suppliers and buyers to achieve online value purchases and supply of extensive medical products. On the supply side, Interleukin provides complete real-time product search, order and inventory management solution to effectively measure the needs of the customers through statistical analysis of purchasing behavior. On the buyer side, Interleukin's integrated procurement system provides easily accessible value marketplace to navigate and make smart and cost-saving purchasing possible. Now, Interleukin platform is an efficient digital tool to allow the users to experience a wide range of product and supplier search. Now, real-time customized negotiations, purchasing order management, billing updates, delivery status, and most importantly, all these are done with accredited and proven suppliers under the stringent compliance management implemented by Interleukin. Now, in order to tackle some concerns revolving around customer service support, Interleukin is committed to supporting wide range of product education, delivery tracking, payment collection assistance, and access to inventory of different suppliers. Now, the most important condition of any e-procurement process is to be able to visualize and quantify savings generated through transparent transaction. Now, this is done through a standardized system of accreditation, transaction, data analysis, logistics, and payment process, and organized reports and documentation under all-in-one solution. Now, with all these available features and functionalities Interleukin platform provides, the main question would be, how much would this cost to all involved parties? Well, this is a commission-based platform where it is completely free to all buyers and free to suppliers until a successful transaction has been made, with the lowest commission rate in the industry of 2.5 to 5% range. Now, Interleukin also provides extensive rewards and savings programs to both buyers and suppliers through rebate and accumulative point system. Now, there are only 5 easy steps to start to use Interleukin platform for both buyers and sellers. First, sign up and then create an account, upload the necessary documentation, wait for your account verification, and start using the system. By providing such easy access to e-procurement marketplace, we strongly believe that this is an important first step towards bringing competitive and affordable healthcare services to Philippines for everyone to enjoy. Now, also, we look forward to be a member among many to come in the future in preparation for fast coming e-commerce paradigm shift. And this will make Philippines the next big thing in healthcare procurement evolution. Thank you for listening, and let's connect to start your first healthcare B2B e-commerce experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lee, for that very informative presentation. And I would agree that procurement in the Philippines is one of the leading efficiencies in the supply chain. And the healthcare industry supply chain here is in the midst of a big transformation. And the healthcare supply chain, together with its people, the entities, the resources, would generate a vast amount of data. And for the supply chain transformation in healthcare, you need to be able to use this data right, as well as add and integrate technologies to boost the performance of supply chains at every level. And given this pandemic, it would definitely drive our healthcare industry to transfer most of their operations online. And the role of e-commerce will shape the direction of the supply chain in the health industry, as not only will it be enabled to generate an online procurement system of laboratory and hospital supplies, but it will also be able to simplify and speed up the task and make an originally 2 to 4 week process possible in just a few clicks. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Lee, for that wonderful presentation. For the next part of our program, we would be having four panel discussions. One would be a discussion on the hospital aspect. Next would be from the supplier's perspective. And third would be coming from the perspective of the fintech companies. And for the fourth one, we would be having all of them together in one panel discussion. So for the first part of our panel discussion, we have two panelists. And our first panelist is Mr. Lawrence Sibayan, or Law, as he is also known, is the Assistant Vice President and Division Head of Marketing and Business Development of Professional Services Incorporated at the Medical City. So for almost a decade in the business of health and the hospital industry, Law has championed programs aimed at improving care delivery and achieving better health care at reasonable cost. So these would focus at effective relationship management, business development, and most importantly, long-term value creation. Today, Law is among the medical city leaders who take care of patients and partners from diverse market segments. He is on top of managing relations with local and international partners, at the same time seeking business opportunities through innovation and expansion endeavors. He also oversees end-to-end marketing activities that looks at the needs of the country's largest healthcare network and its customers. Law is an active member of the Philippine Marketing Association, the country's premier organization for marketing professionals and organizations. He is one of the organization's chairman for its Youth and Academe Committee and Agora Awards. An advocate of lifelong learning, Law had his postgraduate education at the Ateneo Graduate School of Business and Asian Institute of Management for Business Administration and Management Development. Currently, he is an adjunct instructor for undergraduate and master's program at the Far Eastern University, the San Beda University, and the College of the Holy Spirit, among others. Our second panelist is Mr. Erickson Mendoza. He is the CEO and Vice President of Philsotech Incorporated, which is the company behind Chibog at Ibapa, an order app focused to provide seamless order experience in Calabarzon. He is also a consultant for hospitals here in the Philippines and overseas. And further to this, Mr. Mendoza has been significantly invited for several speakerships at the Asia Pacific region, particularly in China, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and in the Philippines. His years of extensive expertise and experience in healthcare led his TV and magazine interviews in China. And as a former Tencent's business development director, he grew his interest in tech and innovations in the business. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Mr. Law and Mr. Erickson.
Hello, Kenneth. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for the invitation.
Hi, Law. Good evening. Pleasure to meet you. So let me
Likewise.
let me just begin with question. Given your expertise on e e-commerce spaces, what do you think are the significant improvements that have been encountered with existing users, particularly for the hospital level, when they are using e-commerce space such as platforms like InterLeukin?
Well, I think it's if I always say this that if there's one thing or one silver linings that this pandemic has actually caused is the acceleration of the digitalization of a lot of processes. And for the healthcare providers, hospitals including, I think the e-commerce provide a platform for us to be able to also have an expansive and immersive access to different suppliers and make the process a bit more streamlined and more efficient as far or in comparison to how we used to do it, like how suppliers would come visit and do their accreditation and all that. So that is one thing that the e-commerce and healthcare, particularly hospitals, are actually um, doing uh, a good relationship on how business are actually being run today, Kenneth.
Hmm. It's a wonderful thing, given that you have shared the experiences of these existing users, and it would definitely help shape on improving the efficiency and the supply chain aspect of the country, especially at the aspect of public health. But
Yes.
mhm,
And if I may add, as we all know, when the pandemic started, all of us, or particularly healthcare providers, have also gone like panic buying, and we had to be connected right away with suppliers, and with the use of the e-commerce platform, it was easy. It was at our fingertips to get connected, whether with local and international suppliers, and be able to actually keep our inventory levels um, at an acceptable rate, so that we'll be able to continue on providing the care that our patients are actually needing.
mhm, that's great. And given that, did you see a noticeable trend at the healthcare consumer or the buyer behavior with the use of e-commerce?
Yes, yes. So just like what I said, it's one of the silver linings. So a lot of the people have actually moved to going digital, including patients. And one may ask, how is that actually being done at the hospital level, right? When you are providing service and are expected to do it physically to your patients, right? So we had to move fast when the pandemic started, because I could still clearly remember 20 months ago, when at the height of the start of the pandemic, there were no patients coming to the hospitals. Okay,
Mhm,
so contrary to the belief of everyone, hospitals have also experienced a lot of I would say challenges in terms of the inflow of business, because a lot of people got scared and all that, and that is how we had to move with full agility to also providing a platform, e-commerce at that, for our patients to be able to still get the service that they want. But of course, that cannot be solely fully virtual. We had to make a way in order for us to still be able to see the patients.
mhm,
So it's like what I always said. It is already the generation of a hybrid, face to face and virtual. But right now, most of the patients and most of the consumers are actually digital first.
mhm,
So when they feel headache or anything that pains them, they would go right away and search for a teleconsultation provider. And once that teleconsultation provider gives the disposition, the patient now seeks or goes to anything online again to be able to get the services. And for them to get the services, all other services such as home care and remote care have actually been provided, particularly here at the medical city. But really, it has developed that kind of a market, the
mhm,
market that probably will not come to your brick and mortar marketplace, and will just really go digital, as long as it is available, and will only come here when they actually needed to be hospitalized already.
mhm. So it definitely has changed the buyer behavior. Since majority of the patients would definitely want to see their doctors physically or face to face, and with the digitalization, and of course they want to have their safety, and it's really the trend of going to 100% digital at the comfort of their own home. All right.
Yes, yes. So pre-pandemic, there were a lot of resistances, both from the patients and the doctors, because that's how Filipinos got used to be,
Mhm,
got used to
mhm,
seeing their doctors, and because it gives them much more confidence when they see the doctors. But
mhm,
when the pandemic happened, it actually underscored and highlighted that it can actually be very effective as well. And because of that experience, the health seeking behavior has also changed. Wherein, example, before, when you have an insurance and you feel something, even if it's not really emergency, you go right away to the emergency room. Now, if you feel something, you go to your computer or your laptop and find a doctor who can actually give you primary care assistance. And the only time that you will really go to the hospital is when you really need to. So that has changed because of all these because of the availability of all these platforms as well.
Mhm. I think this is also a great platform for triaging the patient at home before they go directly to the hospital. So it's
Right.
preventing an influx of patients at the emergency room. All right,
That's
let's hear. Let us hear from Erickson. Erickson, hi.
Hi, Kenneth. Hi, Lo. Hi. Thanks, everyone, for having me here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually agree with Lo in terms of the digitalization happening here now in the Philippines. When I got back here 2015 from China, I felt that the market was not really ready yet for such technology and innovation. It was really a frustration for me when, in terms of trying to go digital in terms of healthcare, because just like Law said, there were hesitation, both patients and doctors, and even the entire organization has hesitations in terms of innovation and digitalization. But
Mhm.
however, one thing that I would say that probably the pandemic brought us good was the ability to adopt the innovation right away. So, like for example, the QR code. The QR code was been sitting for years and years. If it was not from the pandemic, nobody will be able to use the QR code for say patient tracking or
Yeah.
um, um, health tracking, for example. But anyways, I do agree that the Philippines is now on the synergy on adapting technology. I have actually seen a lot of fast innovations from hospitals. I think we are already catching up with our neighbors like Singapore. Maybe not that fast, but actually we are actually coping up already in terms of digitalized, like for example the data, especially the data and machines and equipments that have been used in here in the Philippines. Although one thing that I've noticed here is that also what we're trying to do here in the province, to the hospital that I'm trying to provide extensive services in terms of business development also. The innovation is not that fast in terms of compared to Manila. But however, I think it's just a matter of, just like I always say, just a matter of educating the patients and then the customers, stakeholders, wherein the needs of digitalization for healthcare. Kagaya na sinabi ni Lo
Hmm.
earlier, patients right now are more conscious or health conscious in
Right.
terms of um, anything that goes with the simple symptoms. They are quite conscious already, and then
Hmm.
using it. Before we were quite hesitant in for trying to use the HMOs and then other insurances, but right now, as much as we can, we were able to maximize the insurance and HMOs already. But anyways, I do agree that we are now on the path that healthcare in the Philippines is a rightful thing to where should we should go.
Yeah. And also, given your experience in working in foreign countries, how do you think e-commerce differs that in practice compared to the Philippines?
Oh wow, yeah, e-commerce. It helps a lot. Like I said, when I got here in 2015, there were few telecommunications where actually already have cashless payments portals. But however, it's not the same as what we have in overseas.
Hmm.
Like for example, in Asia, probably I'll just make a very good example in China. That's where actually I was been based most of the time. In terms of e-commerce, we are in China it was more aggressive. You can see a lot of things happening in terms of healthcare and e-commerce in healthcare that I have not seen yet here. I attended a lot of health tech events here in the Philippines,
Hmm.
but I feel that there are big hesitations in terms of embracing the or embracing e-commerce, fused it with healthcare. So that's I think where the area probably that we need to improve more onto embracing
Hmm.
e-commerce and then healthcare altogether.
Yeah. And I think it's really a problem when it comes to our IT infrastructure in the country. But given those challenges, how do you see, Law and Erickson, that local laboratories or hospitals adapting e-commerce in the near future?
All right, well, probably I'll go first. Well, laboratories right now are advancing already. Like I've seen a lot of laboratory on wheels. Everything is now being done in terms of online platforms already. I've seen a lot of apps providing or Filipino founded apps here in the Philippines providing such services, especially with the startup community. I think it's something like I would say in terms of business, it's a gold mine to dig because
Hmm.
nobody. I feel that there's a lot more to dig in healthcare in the Philippines. There's a lot to improve the healthcare in the Philippines. Opportunity is very big and massive, or in the sense that people are now being like for example, from the hospital I've been consulting in Lemery.
Hmm.
We've seen a lot of movement in terms of online consultation and then online inquiries about laboratories online and such. So I think it is something that in the near future is something that healthcare in the Philippines would be able to benefit more onto.
Right.
Ancillary.
Hmm.
I
How
would
about
say
you, Law?
I will have to agree to that. I think it's inevitable. Just like what I said, it actually started. We are in the third industrial revolution, and I think it's really inevitable, even for healthcare services. And I would always think that the healthcare sector is always lagging behind, right, with all these things, particularly here in the Philippines. But the pandemic has just really underscored how important and how fantastic it will actually it will actually cause an
Hmm.
organization. So I would say that it is actually happening right now. I am sure a lot of the hospitals had considered that already
Hmm.
because they have experience on the efficiencies and all the advantages of actually undertaking these endeavors as far as e-commerce is concerned. Whether it's going to help them on efficiency of their internal processes or care delivery to their patients. I think it's just really inevitable that the healthcare providers, hospitals, clinics will really soon adopt or
Hmm.
are actually adopting this kind of business model in their respective businesses.
Hmm. I'm really a pro advocate of process efficiency, and it's really a great advantage when this is applied at the health sector. Because not only would this improve, again, the processes, but it would improve the public health of the general public. And given your experience also in working at the private sector, what do you think are the hurdles faced by medical institutions, particularly our government sector, to transition from the current procurement practice to going digital?
I would say, well, I know that this is part of the universal health law,
Hmm.
all these procurements and all that. I think the major challenge right now is the implementation. You know,
Hmm.
we have like really fantastic plans on how to go about it, but there seems to be some disconnect between the
Hmm.
government and the private sector. Sometimes the government would say this has to be done, and the private sectors would follow, and then the next day it's already different. It
Yeah.
changes so fast, and sometimes the basic requirements of the government are actually really basic, and the private sectors are advanced. So there needs to be some balance on that, and of course, I think the government would really play a big role
Mm,
in support of this. Like if it's just really able to underscore how economies of scale, the shared economy that we can all partake with,
mhm,
and how it's going to affect all our process efficiencies and cost efficiencies alike. It is something that a lot of the institutions will really will really partake on, and and do something about. Plus, I think that a lot of it has to be corrected that going to this direction is expensive. Okay, because when people hear about digitalization or digital, it actually people would usually feel intimidated by it, because they think that it's going to cost them more. But
mhm,
of course, initial investment will be there, but in the long run, it's really going to drive, particularly for businesses, more profits,
mhm,
because of process efficiencies and cost efficiencies. So I think that is also where the government should focus on how are they going to support, because not all hospitals, or not all healthcare organizations would probably have allotted and cash, okay? Because
mhm,
it's like burning cash, right?
mhm,
When you invest on something like this. So I think
mhm,
that is where the government can also help smaller institutions at that, in order for
mhm.
us to be aligned and to be
Yeah.
all together in this endeavor.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good to know. And Erickson, do you have anything in mind?
Yeah. I agree a lot with what Law have mentioned earlier, that the government needs to step up and then provide a support for the private hospitals. One thing that I think one thing that the overseas hospitals um, was efficient and quite effective on providing healthcare services, um, mainly because the government was able to support them. And then, for example, in terms of procurement, I see that there are no clear, I would say, clear cut. Just what Law mentioned earlier. It was not clear. Like, for example, overseas, in China alone, we have like three different levels of procurement. So we measure it by category of risk level.
Mhm,
So I think here in the Philippines should supposed to adopt the same thing. In terms of digitalization, I think also the government, like just like Law mentioned earlier, I think the digitalization for government should allot more budget in terms of hospitals. Not only on applications, not only on e-commerce, but more on the equipment itself.
yeah.
Like for example, um, some overseas are already doing home care with support of like for example life support, or keeping track mainly of their patients between home and hospital. So I think
Mhm,
the government should step more and then give more clear cut of regulations, and then support both the government hospitals and then the private hospitals.
yeah, that's right. And definitely, the universal healthcare law would definitely help provide the directions towards going digitalization. And it's really important that we go digital since we get to generate vast amounts of data that would definitely be helpful from, again, the procurement up until the distribution of supplies, since we get to know or understand everything that our patients need, especially for a particular region. You can get to analyze what particular diseases are present there and how can the government support that in addressing that certain disease. And Given all those insights that you have provided, I want to thank Law and Erickson for your wonderful insights. And I will see you again later for the last panel discussion.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kenneth.
Right?
Thanks.
Thank you. For the second part of our panel discussion, this would be coming from the aspect of our suppliers. And we have again two panelists to join us in this. So our first panelist is Dr. Joseph. He is a young medical doctor entrepreneur and started to build his medical supply company in 2019 with an innovative approach and business model. So being a medical doctor strengthened his passion to make the healthcare system improve by bringing in professional healthcare brands in the Philippines. His enthusiasm to digital technologies led him also to initiate an online platform medical supply business in response to the needs of his fellow healthcare workers during the pandemic, that again got him to become an e commerce advocate to improve healthcare in the Philippines. Our next panelist is a very much well known person, and you have seen him earlier as the second keynote speaker, Mr. Keong Lee. And in addition to his role at InterLeukin as the Chief Business Development Officer, he is also a performing international sales director at Energum. This is a company based in South Korea. So Energum is a company specializes in global automated technology. And since it was founded in 2001 under the banner of Tesco Incorporated, it has then expanded to become the first vendor for globally renowned Hyundai and Kia Motors. And based on this experience, the company name has been changed to Energum Company Limited in 2008 and expanded its core business to develop and manufacture phlebotomy assistance systems for the healthcare industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Joseph and Mr. Keong.
Hi, Kenneth. My
Hello,
pleasure to be
Ganesh.
here.
Hi, Dr. Joseph. Hi, Dr.
Hi,
Keong.
Pleasure to
Kiyam.
be here too. Hello, Mr. Dr. Joseph.
So, to begin our panel discussion, just a question for both of you that you can answer. What do you think are the challenges that our buyers and suppliers are having in today's traditional procurement process, and how can this digitalization adaptation resolve these issues?
Right. So, with traditional, I think you're pertaining to brick and mortar procurement. So, for us, the company is more of a direct to consumer brand. For we mainly serve healthcare professionals, hospitals, and clinics at that. Um, Yeah. So right now, I think brick and mortar stores leave us with less product options
Mhm,
to choose from, especially for us healthcare professionals. Of course, I think everyone would understand or would know the holy land or holy grail for medical supplies here in Manila, which is Bambang. So I came from UST, so it is quite near from us. So
mhm,
when it was my time for me to find medical supplies, it was really hard and it was really limited during my days. So I think that was a problem I wanted to solve. That's why we built the company. So
mhm,
moving forward, we really understood that we wanted to go digital first. I was listening to the keynotes to the panelist earlier, Sir Law.
mhm,
Yeah, I think that the clients or the consumers are going really digital first or mobile first at that. So we really understood or wanted to build a platform specialized just for medical brands and medical goods, basically. Categorize it very organized in a very organized manner. I mean, so um, to cut it short, I think digitalization would help us healthcare professionals give have more selection of items,
mhm.
especially right now that healthcare technology is rapidly evolving. There
Yeah.
are many there are many there are many progresses. Like for one, there are wireless stethoscopes already. So those are the types of improvements that I want to bring here in the Philippines uh, with the company that I'm building.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dr. Joseph. Mr. Keong, you want to add to that?
Well, I've been involved in a medical device exports and export to different countries for about 10 years now. And by relying on a traditional method, because we were founded in a more of a traditional method of actually selling the products to other countries, we found the limitations as to exposure of our products to other markets. So we are looking into introducing our products online as well as adapting digitalization to actually cover different regions by regional basis. And we are also looking into expanding such a business scope in Philippines using an InterLeukin system.
All right, great. And Dr. Joseph, I'm just really wondering, have you tried engaging in um, a government institution for supply
Mm,
management?
okay.
And
So,
did you have any challenges in engaging with them?
right. So it was lucky for us since we started. We really our foundation is really built on digitalization. So we're focused heavily on our website making,
Mm-hmm.
building our sales channels. So we're also present in Shopee and Lazada.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Aside from our main website, which is www.meritmed.ph,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think the pandemic really had an effect for us that suppliers or hospitals and clinics were they had no choice but to search online
Mm-hmm.
because no face to face no there's no offline retail happening during the pandemic. So I guess it gave us the advantage being online that
Mm-hmm.
these government accounts or hospital accounts are reaching to us directly. So yeah, we've had experience with government procurements already, and also private institutions as well.
Mm-hmm. That's so nice to hear to know. And because I'm really interested in the government aspect, because the private sector can immediately adapt to changes in the digital solutions. But for the
Mm.
government, it would just really take a while, but especially for those who are used to or accustomed to using the traditional process. And do have a question for Mr. Keyong. So, how do you think is the healthcare procurement transitioning from the traditional store method to e-commerce, and how has this changed the retail scene in other countries?
In other countries, a lot of countries like in the United States, as well as in Europe, as well as in Korea, perhaps in Japan and China, have switched a lot into digitalization early on, not just in the healthcare industry, but other industries as well. Now, being at the forefront of technology adaptation, we have kind of transitioned into the healthcare digitalization. First, initially, for a lot of countries, including the United States and Canada and so on and so forth, they have been already adapting on a B2B basis on the e-procurement process on the pharmaceutical industry first. Now, it's already these kind of e-procurement platforms are widely used between B2B as well as B2C as well too. And then now they're more turning towards into the medical devices and consumable goods. And we're seeing that, as previous panelists were explaining before, because of this particular this pandemic that happened, in the course of less than 20 months, it has accelerated the process of actually turning a traditional process into digitalization very, very quickly. A lot more. It kind of enforced them, all the parties involved, to actually take that option other than the traditional offline store options as well. So we are gonna see. I believe that we're gonna see a more and more transition into it because the pandemic is still ongoing and it's not. It hasn't been over. And also another issue is that because the global due to some to certain degree globalization, a lot of the supply chain issues are arising at the moment. As we know, we are seeing the inflation globally, not just in Philippines, but also in Korea and elsewhere as well. And there's a lot of supply issues as well as all different components are being. The supply chain is completely being disrupted. Now, this means that and this is expected to actually last until the end of next year. So this particular inflation will obviously is meaning the increase in prices. And in order to actually implement and reducing the pricing down, we have to implement some more digital solutions in order to cut costs that we've been experiencing from the typical traditional process that we are accustomed to. And by doing so, we'll be cutting down or omitting a certain process in the middle of it, so that it becomes more efficient, less resources are required, and the price of these products can come down. And eventually, it will kind of trickle down to customers and patients alike.
Right. That's good to know. And given since you mentioned about the disruption of the supply chain, what do you think are some measures that some of our buyers should be taking in place for them to ensure that their supplies are not disrupted? Given also the example, like there was a previous um, supply issues when it comes to these respirators coming from the United States, and it is really much required, especially for here in the Philippines, those healthcare workers who are responding directly to the patients who have or those who have direct contact at the laboratory for the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And given those challenges, what do you think is the best way that these buyers or the end users themselves can safely have an adequate supply without having much to rely on hoarding these supplies?
Now, the main issues with the traditional method of actually procurement is that a lot of hospitals and clinics and other labs are focused on the singular line of supply. They're only relying on a specific number of suppliers that they have a personal relationship with. So basically, it kind of limits their options and limits their supply chain by doing so. It's not just for Philippines market, but also other countries are exactly like that as well. Now, because of the pandemic, as Dr. Joseph was mentioning, it has basically forced them to go online to search for PPEs at the initial phase of the pandemic and to respirators in India and so on and so forth. And because of that, nowadays the hospitals and labs and other end user customers has to focus on diversifying their supply chain by and actually since pandemic is still ongoing, as we said, there is a very limited chance that the suppliers will be able to visit them to actually market the product, to actually introduce the product. And also because there is a travel restrictions between countries as well as supply chain issues, all in as a package deal, that kind of prohibits options for these end users to actually take advantage of. So only way they can actually do this is to go online in search of the different partners. And such a e-procurement process is the future, and it's not just the future; it's the present. They have no other choice to actually implement this and to diversify their portfolio of different products that they have different access to. And also by adapting these kind of solutions, they will be able to get the cost down because they have more options to choose from different suppliers of international level as well as a local level.
I do agree with Kiyang on that. And I think he was focusing more on the hospital procurement side of things.
Mhm.
So this for us, this is the direct to consumer side. We're quite happy that the being online enables us to reach out to different healthcare workers in different regions, specifically in the Visayas and in Mindanao. So being online really was something that widened our reach. So even though we're working in a from a small office here in Metro Manila, the target market is quite it's non-territorial is what I mean.
Yeah. Mhm. All right then. And my last question for the both of you would be, what are the biggest concerns that most of our suppliers or our suppliers are encountering, or their concerns when adapting to e-commerce solutions?
Should
So
I guess go ahead, please.
sure. So for us, we really intend to build on trust for our clients. So we have this thinking that we're not just an online seller. Um, we're really an e-commerce company specializing in healthcare products.
Mhm.
So that entails proper documentations, proper licenses, business permits. So we had those secured already, and for
Mhm.
the products that we're bringing, we're trying to secure all these documents. Like let's say for the FDA regulations, FDA notifications. Those are the only products that we're trying to bring in
Mhm.
with our product base. So another thing, um, we really think I really think that healthcare is an investment. So um, with that, uh, uh, I don't want to break the trust of the healthcare community, especially
Mhm.
I'm a part of. So yeah, people would look for social proof for
Mhm.
validation.
Mhm.
So um, you really need to show that your brand or your company is someone that they can reach out to if
Mhm.
ever they get problems for the products that they buy from you.
Mhm.
Especially it's they don't see you basically. Everything's online.
Yeah.
Unlike Dr. Joseph's MeritMed, our company Energium has been focused primarily on utilizing the traditional way of approaching customers, like face to face, going actually to the on-site to the hospitals and see them, and then presenting them presentations and products and samples and so on and so forth. And obviously, because due to pandemic, we have no option but to utilize different aspect of marketing and so on and so forth. And the biggest challenges that or concerns that we as a supplier has, it would be that to change or completely transition from the non-digital solution to a digital solution, where because our resources up until now for over a decade or 2 decades have been focused primarily on this offline approach rather than the online approach. So not just the investment purposes, but expertise. The lack of expertise, lack of marketing and sales staff, and resources that we have, we need to make that transition quickly enough because things are moving pretty quickly because due to the pandemic as well. So that's one of the biggest concerns for it. But as a supplier, we see the benefit of going digital, and obviously we need to take a chance and we need to invest. And of course, we are not going to be completely eliminating or omitting the traditional method of doing things, but we'll be kind of doing both, taking
Mhm.
advantage of both the system, going from the analog to digital, kind of that transition period, as we all know. And that's the way things will be, and that's what that as a supplier, that's the way that we'll be adapting to the quickly changing environment.
Mhm. Yeah, I like
Definitely.
that word, especially of balancing the part of the traditional and the digitalization. And I definitely agree with what Dr. Joseph had mentioned is building the relationship with the end users. Because after all, it's really the suppliers who would be giving you the service for all of the supplies that you would need at the hospital or at the laboratory. And thank you so much, Dr. Joseph and Ki Young, for your insights on the aspect of the suppliers. So I'll see you later at
Pleasure.
the end.
All right, my
It's
pleasure.
been a pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. For our third panel, we have representatives from the fintech companies. And our first panelist is Mondi Yang, who is the enterprise sales manager of Sendit Philippines, a young, hardworking economics graduate from the University of California, Los Angeles, or UCLA in 2018. And he came back in the Philippines and had this opportunity to join Sendit's original expansion team in 2019. And then he has held a number of different roles from within Senate, ranging from customer success, merchant operations, and most recently sales, where he had the chance to work together with both SMEs and enterprises in identifying their pain points when it comes to managing payments and expecting and exploring solutions to address them. Our second panelist is Meryl Talan, who is the growth manager of NextPay. And having an undergraduate degree in communications from the University of Santo Tomas and a master's degree in business administration from the Asian Institute of Management, she went on to hold positions at companies such as Robinsons Bank Corporation and Globe Telecommunications. And with 10 years of experience in the banking and finance, telecommunications, and business management industries, she has found her happy place in communication and marketing, product development, project management, and customer experience. She also likes a combo of reading yoga, and a glass of wine during her downtime. So, everyone, please welcome Mondi and Meryl to this panel.
Hey,
Hi,
Kenneth.
everyone. Good
Thank you so
evening.
much for the kind words. Pleasure to be here.
Hi, Mondi and Max. It's a pleasure to meet both of
Hi.
you. Mhm. So, let me just begin with this question. What do you think are some of the challenges that are faced by today's payment process that are utilized by healthcare organizations in the Philippines?
Sure.
Maybe.
I can go ahead and start then.
All right.
So I think some challenges right now that are being faced by healthcare organizations in the Philippines are things like invoicing, cybersecurity, for example, the availability of as many payment options as possible to patients, for example. Doing away with the more outdated payment options, such as checks, for example,
Mhm.
and of course, secure payment processing. So, I think with Zendit, a large number of issues related to these different challenges that I addressed earlier. These can be addressed through our products and solutions, right? So, when it comes to our money and services, we do allow our merchant partners to accept um, payments through a whole host of different payment channels, such as cards, banks, over the counter, among others.
Mhm.
And I think when it comes to invoicing, right? So right now, a lot of these invoicing solutions are being done manually at the moment. So through Zendit, we do help users accept payments with a customizable invoice interface that can be sent through WhatsApp links, Facebook links, and any other form of social media. And I'm
Got
sure our friends from NextPay would have some further inputs here as well when it comes to generating payment links and things like that. So,
True. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mondi. So with NextPay, just a quick background. NextPay is a digital banking solution that gives the power of big banks in the hands of small businesses. So we do that by helping them collect, send, and manage money so they can run their business with ease.
Mhm.
And yeah, similar to what Mondi said, our target audience, the medium, small, and micro entrepreneurs, like similar to our the small businesses in Bambang,
Mhm.
those small businesses that sell medical supplies. Yeah, and that is our target market, and there it really is a challenge. Yes, in invoicing and disbursements, and not only that, but the steep fees of big banks as well. If you're a small business, you would want as much of your money to be in your inventory or in in the cycle of your business. But if it's there kept as a maintaining balance, how much is it to maintaining balance, to deposit money as maintaining balance in a corporate bank? That's around 750,000. That's a sizable amount of money for a small business. So that's
Yeah.
also one of the challenges. And with NextPay, we don't require any of those. It's completely free to sign up, and you only pay
Mhm.
as per use. So because we believe that you only pay for what you really need and for what you use. So that is also something that we offer.
Yeah, that's great to know. And I do agree with what Mondi said earlier. It's some of the hurdles that's being encountered, especially those who are used to the traditional method of payment, is that how secure is your digital payment process? Or are you really secure from any hackers? Or are our data very much secure when it comes to data privacy? And given those challenges in the aspect, especially for the government sector, um, we do have a few government institution or agencies that are already adapting to e-commerce, and especially for the digital payment as well. And I don't see that at the healthcare aspect. So what do you think is their hesitation in adapting this type of digital payment process?
yeah, I think the transition to going online is obviously a very new, I would say, new transition, right? So
Mhm.
I think most healthcare companies right now have been very much accustomed to the very traditional way of both accepting and sending out payments as well. So I think that's really where I suppose, hesitance lies.
Mhm.
It's really committing to such a big change, right?
Yeah.
It's truly a really big change, and of course, when it comes to making payments offline, right? It's natural to have concerns when it comes to cybersecurity and things like that. So, I think to add a little bit to some of the products and solutions that we do offer, to sort of counteract some of these issues that healthcare platforms or merchants might be wary of. We do have, for example, Zen Shield, an in-house fraud detection system that we do provide specifically for credit card payments, for example. So um, upon logging into your Zendesk dashboard, you'll be able to sort of deep dive into each individual credit card transaction and um, see for yourself sort of a fraud risk assessment based on a number of factors on how likely it is to be a fraudulent transaction in that case.
Mhm.
That's true. And, in my experience in talking about NextPay to different people, there really is a challenge in acceptance. The mindset of where will I go if I have questions about where is the branch? That is usually the question. So there really is a need to shift the mindset that no, digital banks are not dangerous. In fact, we have security processes in place that adhere to the central bank, to BSP, to make sure that we're able to operate and take care of your money for you. And of course, take care of your customers as well. That's the reason why these KYC processes, that's why we require these documents. That's also to be able to secure you and your money.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's especially for those end user hospitals or laboratories who are using traditional payments, more of, I think, marketing them the benefits of having this adapting of this digital payment solution, since it's a big investment, but again, it would again optimize the processes, and the people involved at the health sector would be more focused on public health service delivery. And one last question for you guys would be, how would an all-in-one payment solution provide unique user experience with an integrated this is integrated with an e-procurement platform?
Right. Great question, Kenneth. So I think with Zendit, right, I think what our main mission is really to, at its core, it's really to make payments simple, right? So with each potential merchant partner that we sort of make pitches to or try to work together with, we really try to tailor fit our solutions in order to fit their needs and cater to their pain points. So that's also one of the factors I think that really helped Zendit gain the trust of a whole host of various clients, both SMEs and enterprises alike, within and outside of the Philippines as well. So we really continue to take pride in offering really simple integration. So be it through a suite of APIs, if these merchants do have the necessary tech capabilities to do so, we do have a suite of APIs that we can provide. Alternatively, we do offer simple solutions such as the invoice solution that I mentioned earlier, where it's more of a simple plug and play solution that smaller merchants would be able to use right away, for example, if they want to go live to the market as soon as possible. Another factor I think that I want to emphasize is when it comes to speed. So, prospective customers will have a dedicated account manager when it comes to the onboarding process with us. So within a few working days, you'll be able to gain access to your own live Zendesk dashboard and immediately start making transactions.
Mhm.
And then finally, I think it comes to service, right? So even once we're able to go live with your account, once all of that is sorted, we do have a dedicated customer success team who is always happy to help 7 days a week to answer any queries or concerns that our merchants would have.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to echo what Mondi said. It's true that Sendit's integration, customer service is superb because we ourselves are integrated with Sendit. We're able to serve our customers really well and offer our tools to collect, send, and manage money because Sendit is powering us back end. So what Monde is saying is true. Customer service is really good. Speed of the service is really good. That's the reason why NextPay is able to serve its customers. And yeah, if you need API integrations, Sendit is a way to go. But if you don't need integrations and just want a banking solution for your business, no frills, um, and you want an affordable banking experience, NextPay is your best bet for that one.
Yes, and I would definitely have to agree with both Mondi and Max on this one, since it would definitely save you a trip to the bank, especially when it's transacting with international customers. With just a click, you definitely have your transfer, your telegraphic transfer, in a matter of few seconds. So thank you so much, Mondi and Max, for sharing your insights on these one. And we'll be having our open mic for all question in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mondi. Thank you, Kenneth.
So for the last part of our panel discussion, we'd be having an open mic for all, in which we would having all our panelists in one window, and let's just wait up for them to appear. So do we have everyone on board? And welcome again to our final panel discussion for this evening. Great to see everyone again.
Good evening,
And
Jen.
right, here we have Law. So just a final question for everyone, and you could answer: what can our current e-commerce evolution bring about in the coming years or in the coming decade? And what kind of processes or unique services can be offered with these e-commerce evolution? Maybe we could start off with Mr. Kiyong.
Okay. Now, I believe that the integration will not just going to be limited to the healthcare industry. It will be also from manufacturing all the way up to the healthcare to the end users. So basically now, even though right now we are in the third generation industrial revolution, but it will be a fourth generation coming up soon, where smart factories will be going live. Also, it's already going live in many countries. So whenever there's any kind of order being processed in whatever country that it may be, when the customer places an order, the entire order process will be completely digitalized and will be completely streamlined all the way to the manufacturing, where everything all order we receive, it will start the manufacturing by smart factory, and then will be all the delivery process will be seamless, interconnected with one another, and also be delivered to the end users or to some of the hospitals or other customers in that particular regard. So I think it will be an integration of the different industries coming together in next decade or two, and then that's how I see it happening in the future.
I guess if we also talk about the speed at which funds are being transferred, it's very important for business owners to be able to have their cash on hand, right? Cash is king. You need money, you need your capital, and you need to be able to get them as fast as possible. As a supplier, you need that so you could send your goods early, and as a buyer also you need your capital to be able to procure materials either from here or from abroad. So a really reliable payment payment solution or a fintech solution is important, and to shift to a digital payment solution is, I guess, the way to go because everything is fast. It's just that the mindset there really needs to be a shift in mindset. And I think I would like to take this opportunity to also tell our audience that we have processes in place to make sure your money and your documents, your identity is safe. So don't worry.
In relation to that, I really enjoyed that last part of the of the talk of the panel, because for our business we're actually like 80% cashless already. With our reach being non-territorial, we really needed a solution for us to get payments from our clients in a hassle-free way. So actually, we're now integrated with Sendit. At the same time, we're integrated with other e-wallets like GCash or Paymaya. So most of our clients, which are healthcare workers, who don't really have that much time, I do think they appreciate that the speed that we're able to get their orders and the logistics that we're offering them. Um, I think they appreciate all those efficiencies, process efficiencies that we're offering.
Mhm.
That's true. And it also helps you build really good relationships with your suppliers and
Definitely,
customers when you're
definitely.
able to, pay them on time. And even your employees, it's a way of taking
Mhm.
care of your employees if you're able to pay them on time and in full.
Definitely, Max.
Agree.
I think to add as well to a little bit on what Mex was saying, right? So a couple more benefits I think to the ongoing digitalization of the healthcare industry is one when it comes to doing these reconciliations, right? I think having a platform similar to Zendit, similar to NextPay, it'll really enable and make the process of doing reconciling payments a lot easier. So everything is um, already navigated and can be viewed through your online dashboard, for example.
Mhm.
Um, Reports can be generated very, very easily at a matter of seconds, right? So this really speeds up the process of reconciling payments. And then I think additionally, it's really to do with providing alternative payment methods. So we, as much as possible, don't want to single out particular, say, patients, right, or suppliers. So I think providing these additional payment methods, such as pay later, for example, which is a sort of newer checkout option that we do provide, where we enable our customers to conduct payments in installments, is another great option to um, make payments aside from the other payments we're commonly used to, such as cards and e-wallets, for example.
Yeah. So maybe we can hear from Erickson and Law then.
Yeah, I think it's what everyone was able actually, just like Joseph, Dr. Joseph earlier had mentioned. They also appreciate each of every discussions earlier. Especially, I think the only area that probably needs to be developed more is what I can see personally would be the logistic ones. We need to have a more reliable logistics because payments right now, as Mex and Mondi were saying, actually it helps a lot of um, um, delivering B2B and B2C payment solutions, particularly not only for the hospitals but also for the consumers as well. So I think that's where I believe it needs more development or efficiency in terms of logistics
Yeah.
in procurement.
Mhm. I think Law is on mute.
I'm sorry about that. I was saying that I'm just supposed to agree to everybody, but I think that just like what I said in the first panel discussion, it is here to stay. It's inevitable, and you could just imagine we are just beginning. And when all of these things have finally been together, logistics, finance, and all the processes, you could just imagine how efficient it will be for our businesses. I mean, we never really thought that this is also the way to go for healthcare services. I mean, the technology in the form of e-commerce has disrupted the retail scene that is given. But for the B2B, we never expected until the pandemic hit us. So these platforms are just really here to stay. And I think it provides a level playing field for all the players, suppliers, and customers alike, with all the wide range of products being available in one platform and services, while dramatically cutting costs and improving customer service. I think that is very important. So it becomes very very convenient for customers, and I think that is what business are all about. Um, we have here one of our speakers saying that cash is king, but for providers like us, it's always that customers are kings and queens, right? So this is the reason why we are actually doing this more than all these process efficiency that is for the customer experience.
Mhm. Well, I appreciate everyone for sharing your insights. And one of the things that definitely made a mark to me was what Kiyong said earlier, that it would be the aspect of all agencies involved that would help definitely improve the aspect of e-commerce. And given our scenario with what we experienced at the COVID-19 pandemic, we did have a big disruption in the medical supplies. And through the evolution of e-commerce, I can see that all the agencies involved in this response would definitely be more streamlined, be more effective, and be able to deliver a good public health service delivery, which would again benefit all the public. And of course, if another pandemic comes, we'll definitely be able to handle it very well this time. So once again, I thank all our panelists for attending the nice discussion, and I appreciate for all of your insights. And definitely, it's that e-commerce is the way to go in the next few weeks or decades, rather. Thank you so much.